Leeshai Lemish, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Steve.
It's great to have you with us, Leeshai. Shen Yun, it's become a bit of a household name, whether you've actually seen the performance or seen the beautiful billboards when they come around during the touring season. You know, you guys are growing. You're back in the nation's capital right now to perform. What can we expect to see in a Shen Yun performance?
So if you've never seen Shen Yun, it's a celebration of 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. And we do this through dance, classical Chinese dance, with a live orchestra, animated backdrops, soloists, MCs, and it's just amazing costumes. It's really a journey through ancient China, really a lost world that you can't see anywhere else today.
To your point, Shen Yun's tagline is China before communism. Talk to us about how this is such a significant aspect of the performance.
Yeah, so that's our mission, is to revive traditional Chinese culture, 5,000 years of civilization that was mostly lost and destroyed under the Communist Party in China. And so we're talking about the ancient legends, and not just the legends themselves, but the values that are behind them, the virtues, the ideas like loyalty and courage and compassion and integrity. And these are brought forth and are carried really from one generation to the next through the stories. These values, even though they're Chinese in a way, they're actually universal. And that's why the performance is really so successful, because wherever we go, it resonates deeply with people of any nation, race, religion, country. They identify with it because something really very deeply human about the performance that really inspires and uplifts people.
And from what I understand, China has a very profound spiritual culture, and much of that was eradicated because of the Chinese Communist Party. Talk to us about how that culture clashes with communism.
So when the Communist Party came to power, really took over China in the middle of the last century, the first thing it set out to do was wipe out traditional Chinese culture and bring in this Soviet import of Marxism and Leninism and Stalinism, and later it became Maoism. And all of that import is really based on the ideas of violent atheism, materialism, and utilitarianism, which basically all comes down to it's what is in front of you right now that matters. There's nothing beyond it. There's no afterlife. There's no consequences. There's no right and wrong even. It's just about this very material world. And traditional Chinese culture is not about that at all. It's very much about consequences. What we say in the West, what goes around comes around, or karma, and they have a lot of expressions. And a lot of the heroes that really are so treasured throughout the generations are people who chose integrity and chose right over wrong, even with great sacrifice sometimes. And that's really antithetical to the Communist Party. So when they came over and they tried to basically change the culture in order to enable themselves to take over the country and establish a legitimacy, they had to wipe out this culture. Otherwise, how are you going to get students to beat up their teachers, or to turn in their parents during the Cultural Revolution, or to go and murder your neighbors? And they had to, you wouldn't do that if you believe that there's consequences, that you're going to have to face your ancestors, or you're going to be reincarnated, or there's karma, or there's heaven and hell, which were all these ideas that have been around for thousands of years in Chinese culture, as well as all over the world. And so really from that perspective, the values of this civilization are very deeply rooted, and communism sees them as a threat.
And so because of this mission, you all have faced tremendous adversity. Even right now, we're seeing bomb threats at the Kennedy Center. You say that this actually goes far beyond just the CCP hoax in these bomb threats designed to terrorize people. Put this into the proper context, if you could.
Right, so on our first day here in DC, we're setting up for our performance, and a fire alarm went off. And the theater security came over the loudspeaker, said, "This is not a drill, evacuate immediately." And as we're walking out, the way the security guards were pushing us around and getting us as far away from the building, I said, "This is not a fire drill, and it's not even a fire. There's something else." It felt like what you would have if there was a mass shooting incident or a bomb. And turns out, after about 3 hours standing outside in the cold, it wasn't just us. There was like 6 performing arts companies at the Kennedy Center at the same time, standing outside, freezing. They had received a bomb threat. And this is part of a pattern. We've gotten about 20 of these in different theaters around the world, including 2 since then, in France and in Netherlands. And we've gotten them almost daily at our headquarters in New York. And basically, they're all just trying to scare people from seeing the show and to scare the performers from performing. Not a single show has been canceled. Not a single performer has been deterred. But you're right, Steve, it comes as part of a big pattern of 18 years of the Chinese Communist Party trying to stop Shen Yun, really from day one. So at first they would send other companies to try to compete with us. Then they would try to pressure the theaters to cancel our contracts, pull our advertising, try to hack our website, our ticketing sites, my personal email, slashing our tires, and now trying to weaponize social influencers and mainstream media to come after Shen Yun. I think they see how big a threat it is, even though it's just a dance show. It's a cultural event, but it is bringing back this lost heritage that they're really afraid of.
And, it does feel like these reports that you're speaking of these bomb threats, and mind you, as you mentioned, there is no threat or has been no threat to anybody's safety. It appears as though these are simply acts by the CCP just to terrorize people, as you mentioned. But why do you think you're seeing such an uptick right now? Does it maybe represent instability in China or the threat that they see in Shen Yun?
Well, I think they're sensing that it's a desperate kind of end game type of battle for them. And there have been leaked documents coming out of China over the course of the summer last year saying that they really need to up the game against Shen Yun and against the broader Falun Gong community in the United States. Sometimes they may link it to Taiwan with an idea that if they were to take over Taiwan, and there's such a strong Falun Gong community in Taiwan, that they would be a big resistance to the Communist Party. And so in order to uproot Falun Gong from Taiwan, they have to go after in the U.S. Shen Yun has gotten a lot of support from the United States government and governments around the world, from Congress and other people, and I think they feel like they want to undermine that and really create a conflict between Shen Yun and the American government and the American people.
Talk to us about Falun Gong, if you could, and also the relationship between Falun Gong and Shen Yun.
Sure. So Shen Yun Performing Arts was started by Falun Gong practitioners in New York in 2006. So Falun Gong became very popular in China in the 1990s, and by 1999 there were more people practicing Falun Gong than there were members of the Chinese Communist Party. Some of them were party members, some of them were artists, some of them were factory workers, but the Communist Party leader at the time said this is too many people doing this and we have to crush it. And we have to crush it within 3 months or it'll be the biggest embarrassment to the Communist Party. Of course, it's been 25 years, Falun Gong in China is not crushed. Outside of China, Falun Gong practitioners were caught rather flat-footed, not knowing what do we do, or that these people just like us in China who one day are meditating in the park now are being rounded up and thrown into labor camps and being tortured and killed. And so they started different activities, parades, and handing out flyers and lobbying Congress and media entities and trying to do all these different things online. And eventually, performing arts was one option of how to raise awareness about what's happening in China. And so you have these elite artists from around the world coming together and saying, let's revive traditional Chinese culture through performing arts and show the world what China was really like and the beauty of it. And at the same time, let's take this opportunity to show people the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners, and not just the brutality of the persecution, but the courageous resistance to it and the hope that comes from the strong faith that these people have, and including non-Falun Gong practitioners standing up and supporting them. And that's been one of the most moving pieces, I think, in the performance for audience members. And it's also a big reason why the Chinese Communist Party is so afraid of Shen Yun, because these things are exposed on stage.
Leeshai Lemish, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.